My name is Robert O'Brien. I'm a program director at Maine Development Foundation. We have three excellent speakers today who will be telling you about advances in the communities in the forest economy in Maine. I'm first going to introduce Paul Towle, and as a matter of process, I would encourage you to switch your speaker view up in the right-hand corner to speaker view. You'll have a better experience that way, and we will be recording this session. So without further ado, Paul Towle is president and CEO of Aroostook Partnership. Paul will discuss the challenges of an optimism that now exists in forestry in Maine's northernmost county. Aroostook Partnership is a private-public partnership speaking with one voice and engaging private sector leadership, talents, and resources in the region to ensure the economic survival and growth of the county. The Aroostook Partnership is a nonprofit organization supported by the financial commitments of over 20 private businesses. These organizations and their leadership are committed to moving forward on a regional agenda and promoting the region as a destination for business relocation and expansion. So Paul, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Appreciate that. We actually have about 100 organizations that support AP, and I know you mentioned 20, but yeah, a lot of good stuff going on in Aroostook County, and especially in the Ashland area. It's my privilege to present some of that today and talk a little bit about what's happening across Aroostook, plus focus a little bit more on that Ashland area. So we're a privately funded organization, Aroostook Partnership is, and I've been given a lot of leeway as president to really focus on the forest products industry, because many of our major investors in the partnership realize how critical that industry is to Aroostook County. And I think many of the people on this summit today realize how important it is across all of Maine. So, but we really do focus on Aroostook County. We've got agriculture, we've got forestry as our two natural resource economic drivers. So we do a lot of emphasis in that area. I want to just say that it's pretty exciting to hear today what's going on in this summit, because I say a lot of this stuff to people and they kind of look at me a little strange and say, boy, I don't believe we're going to do that with forest products. That doesn't sound like traditional uses of trees. But this stuff is coming. Maine is really well poised to take advantage of this. So I've been bullish on the forest products economy for a long time, and we're going to see some pretty promising technologies and investments in Maine. So let me just give you a little recap on what's going on in Aroostook County. We still have a very vibrant economy up here around the forest products industry. We've got our paper operation in Twin Rivers and Madawaska. We've got a bunch of logging contractors in the Fort Kent area that service the entire sort of northwestern portion of Maine. Moving down that Route 11 corridor, which many people are familiar with. We've got in Portage, we got Maine Woods Company, a hardwood mill up there. They also do some chipping at that facility as well. Moving a little further south in the Nashville Plantation, J.D. Irving has a state-of-the-art stud mill there. Moving down into the Ashland area, a little further south, we've got Matt Bell with his Northeast Pellets. Read some great news recently on Matt's operation, FSC certified. That should really be a shot of adrenaline for his business. So that's good news for him. And across the street, Katahdin Cedar Homes has a cedar mill there. And then moving a little further south, Masardis, we've got Baquam, a dimensional softwood producer, big producer. Moving over kind of to the east around Presque Isle, Columbia Forest Products and their veneers. Also Huber Engineered Products in Easton. We're all familiar with them. And then down in southern Aroostook, you saw Ryan Bushy earlier on the call here. Down in New Limerick, Louisiana Pacific. and they've got some great investments that are going on there in a new smart siding line. So that's kind of the, in a nutshell, all. But let me just kind of drill in a little bit in that Ashland area. We've got some pretty neat stuff going on there. Some recent developments. A lot of it is because of the energy being created from the Maine program. First, I want to talk about the formation. Don Tardy is on the call here. He is chairing. He sort of did the Pied Piper effort. Got a lot of engaged people that care about Ashland. Together, we formed the Ashland Area Economic Development Corporation, and we're active, engaged, and we're trying to rebuild the forest economy in that whole corridor. And so that's a really big movement with some engaged people that really care about that industry. Secondly, the town of Ashland was recently, and you're aware of this, Robert, was awarded a $150,000 grant through the MBRC program, which Maine Development Foundation sort of anchored that program. And we were one of the recipients in Ashland for that. And it's a pretty neat undertaking. It's to develop the sort of a market development effort in the East Coast for structural round timber. That's kind of a new thing to many of the folks. We just had a call earlier this week. A lot of people in the summit were on that call and heard what's coming down the pike on for structural round timber. So hopefully, if that market develops the way we think it will, we're pretty confident it will. We'll be putting a facility in Ashland to kick that off, and there's opportunities for more of that. So next, we've got there was recently constructed and renovated on the old Levesque Mill site. The used to be a pine mill, is now we're going to be doing some biobrick manufacturing there. So that's pretty good. We're very close to kicking that off. A couple more environmental hurdles to get through, and that plant will be up and running. That's good news. And on that same site, really, this is pretty powerful stuff here. We haven't really had a place when people call in to say, "Hey, what's available for a development site there?" I know you get a bunch of fiber available in close proximity to Ashland. Where could I put something? No matter what type of forest products you were talking about. And we really didn't have something that was just available and ready to go. And so we've been able to, through the Development Corporation in the town of Ashland, work out an arrangement where we're going to, through NMDC, helped us out to get a 95-acre parcel on that former industrial site there. So that's great. It's got all kinds of resources, got 3-phase power, rail, truck scales, town water and sewer, and it's a former mill site. So we know it's right on the edge of the fiber basket. It's really well positioned to receive investment. So we're excited about that. We're going to begin a pretty aggressive marketing program to go after investors. So that's being sort of a mile from that site is about less than a mile from an edge of an 8 million acre contiguous commercial forest land connected through private roads. So that's talk about accessibility. I know that Ashley from Maine and Company had talked about that. Investors want to know, do you have access to fiber? Well, Ashland does. So it's pretty good that we're able to provide that site now. So in addition to the site, we Ashland is also within about a 50-mile radius. There's been some studies done on how much are we harvesting versus how much could we harvest, and I think the answer to that is that in the range of about 1.1 to 1.2 million green tons a year that we're growing more than we're harvesting. So that to me is pent up potential for investment, and certainly makes that site look pretty favorable. And also, we've got a very experienced workforce within about 10 miles of Ashland. There's 350 to 400 folks that are currently working in that industry. A lot of people that have been in and out of the industry, depending on what work is available. So there's a very experienced forest products workforce in that greater Ashland area. We also got a chip mill right up the road, doing about 300,000 tons a year, hardwood and softwood. We've got obviously a little bit of a uptick with the recent loss of the re-energy plants, where we lost about 500 to 600,000 tons of residue and chip production. So we now have that sort of people are going farther away to find what to do with the mill residues. So we have that as an asset, really. And so again, I've always been bullish on the Ashland area, and I think we're at a key crossroads right now with the movement of what's happening in the Climate Council. We're trying to get to more green energy, more sustainable products. All of this feeds right into the forest products industry, and Ashland is very well positioned to take advantage of that. So again, excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about the great stuff going on up here in Aroostook County, and looking forward to hearing some of the others.
Great, Paul. Thank you so much. If any folks in this session have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them at any time. Seeing none at the moment, I'm going to move forward and introduce George O'Keefe. George is the Economic Development Director at the town of Rumford in Western Maine. Rumford is a classic Maine mill town. It is fortunate for Rumford to have retained an operating mill, but the community faces many challenges as it supports the mill and looks to create economic diversification that both enhance economic drivers, and it creates new industries for job creation and a stable tax base. So George, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Rob, and really happy to join everybody today. I'm going to really just roll right into this and share my screen here. So good morning, everyone. As Rob said, my name is George O'Keefe. I'm the Economic Development Director for the town of Rumford. I'm going to give you an outlook of how things are in our area and talk about some change and things that have already changed. So this is a timeline of our major recent events. ND Paper buying the Rumford Mill obviously was a huge shift for us. And then they acquired Old Town as well. We are also in the process of getting a new VA clinic built in town. We are literally expecting an award letter on that potentially as soon as next week. We've spent the better part of the past year and change working through that process, including identifying a site. Rumford Falls Best Western Plus went under construction January 2020. 63-room brand new build hotel. Group of 27 local investors who are building a new hotel, and that's expected to open in June. We did a $7 million downtown rehabilitation project. That's materially complete at this point, with the exception of some paving on River Street and some other little final details. We had a groundbreaking at EMI Solar, which is a 3.9 megawatt solar farm in the community solar projects program that the state has. Did a LED streetlight conversion, and that also included some streetlight service expansion. And the River Valley Tech Center sold to a private developer on December 31st of 2020. And then summer 2019 to winter 2021, we've had probably a fifth to as much as a quarter of our downtown properties sold to developers for new opportunities. We're very, very pleased with the level of interest in our commercial properties. So ongoing projects, this is a list of everything that's going on. New England Battery did a $5 million battery that got into the press recently. We're doing a relicensing in FERC on the Rumford Hydro. Inland Woods and Trails got a $50,000 RTP award. Black Mountain is putting in for a new snow groomer. We're looking at historic preservation of Rumford Center Meeting House, and we have a town marketing campaign on the air right now. We're very, very pleased with Keneally and Company who's handling our marketing. They've been a tremendous asset to us as a community, and that marketing campaign really made a huge difference for Black Mountain this past winter. Just a quick overview of some of the recent loans or grants that are flowing into the downtown and other commercial properties. Very, very pleased with that, and we have at least another 150,000 outstanding. This is with the exception of what's listed there with the Best Western. This is all direct lending from the town of Rumford through our UDAG fund. And also, obviously, what's listed in green was an asbestos abatement grant on a tax acquired property and a phase 1 done by AVCOG. So we're very, very pleased with these things. 105, 103, and 109 Congress, all 3 of those buildings were vacant and have had virtually no life in them for anywhere from 15 to 20 years. So we're probably by the end of 2021, maybe mid 2022, we will have no vacant storefronts left in our downtown, period. This slide shows you what our fiber installation project looks like. We had a really great grant from the Northern Border Regional Commission as part of our downtown project, and we were able to take this funding. Originally, we were looking at doing a third-party install of kind of an open access fiber network. Costs on that came in much higher than anticipated, and Consolidated essentially approached us and said, hey, we have fiber on the island already, some, and we think we can work with you on this, and we've developed a really good partnership with them. There are some major advantages to using an incumbent telecom carrier on projects like this, and the cost has been extremely reasonable in our eyes. So this is something that we had been waiting on an engineering quote, and finally got it, and had probably a 1-year delay due to COVID. And we are very, very pleased to be moving forward with this and expect it to go to be a full build out this summer. That's pretty much where that's at right now. This is what we're doing in conceptual right now. It looks like a lot, but actually some of it's been coming at us for a while. Elementary and middle school, Rumford Elementary School is number 3 on the state's construction list, and Morobe Elementary and Mountain Valley Middle School also made the list. So we think we're going to get a combined K-8 facility, probably going to be in Mexico, but it's going to be a huge asset for the community at large. A lot of residential development looking here. We continue to see projects that are really occurring in this area, and value that's occurring in this area, in part due to the strong demand in the Bethel Sunday River area, which we're literally right next to Sunday River. Our town line touches Newry, and we're 25 minutes, even from where I'm at here at the town hall to the back end of the Sunday River Resort at the Jordan Grant. So we're really very pleased with everything that's going on there. This is our approach. We're flexible, highly responsive. We don't have any zoning other than shoreland. We have a solar ordinance that's developer friendly. We have a UDAG fund that we use for lending. We have an economic development fund that's discretionary. That's funded through some general property tax revenue. We're very proactive. We're strategic in our approaches, and we recognize and specifically the value of energy in the community. One of the things that probably doesn't get said enough is, as a community right now, we're probably producing 2 to 3 times in dollar value in energy what we're producing in pulp and paper. And so the energy production for us, as I like to tell people, is just as big and just as important as forest products. And then we also have extensive business development support with a variety of different community partners, including Community Concepts, Finance Corporation, and also Androscoggin Valley Council of Governments, and our local banks, Bangor Savings, Key Bank, Franklin Savings Bank, and Oxford County Federal Credit, among others. And then this is just a quick little overview of our clinic site, which is in the orange box, and also a nice grid scale battery project that we managed to co-locate. And this was sort of a classic example of some land and parcels in Rumford that, as I like to say, had been really jigsawed so badly that they were not really able to be developed anymore. And we have like 5 parties involved on these 2 transactions. The VA clinic developer is actually talking to Brookfield, and they're interacting with each other and getting the land issues straightened out. And this is land that was really dead and was really never going to be able to be much of anything anymore, in part because all of the ownership and all of the rights of ways and easements and everything was so badly split. So that's kind of an overview of what we're calling a railroad street redevelopment. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Terrific, George. Thank you very much. Don't see any questions in the chat at this time, so we'll move forward to our next speaker, and if any questions come up, we'll jump back to you. Our last speaker is Dan Sullivan. Dan is president of the Down East Broadband Utility. The Washington County towns of Baileyville and Calais have built one of the most advanced and affordable fiber optic internet networks in the country, and they did it by collaboration, smart planning, and local financing. Dan will tell us how they pulled it off, why it works, and what it has meant for those communities. Dan, I will turn it over to you now.
All right. Again, my name is Dan Sullivan. I am the president of Down East Broadband Utility in Calais and Baileyville. I'm a recently retired IT manager from the Woodland Pulp and St. Croix Tissue Mill. So our community is very heavily invested in the forest products industry. So that was one of the reasons that we did proceed with this fiber to the home project that I'm now going to give you a brief overview. In the beginning, the 2 towns decided to try to work together for economic development. So they created an economic development board in 2015. There was a director assigned to that who came into my office and basically asked for ideas. And we talked about a fiber development, something I've been passionate about for a number of years. So we thought, well, let's try to move on that end and see what happens. So we started talking to business leaders and to local citizens and groups and organizations around the town, and we decided to move on this improving our broadband situation. The need for high-speed symmetrical broadband internet access did not exist in Calais and Baileyville. There was a lot of frustration from the business community and the citizens with the existing broadband solutions that were there. The solutions we have presently in Baileyville, along with a fiber network, are cable and DSL from the phone provider. We initially approached them hoping that we could work with them in order to improve the situation. We knew we wanted to have a fiber to the home network for everyone. When we approached the existing providers, they were not interested. So we thought, okay, they're not interested, so perhaps we can try this ourselves. So in 2016 of July, we did a feasibility study to see if this actually could work. Determined that yes, it was very feasible. So in June of 2017, we commissioned a contractor to give us a detailed cost analysis on how much it was going to cost to build the network. Once we got those numbers, we went back to the respective councils and citizens of those towns and got an overwhelmingly positive support to build this network. So in August 2017, Calais and Baileyville signed what's called an interlocal agreement, forming the state's first district municipal utility, Down East Broadband. Now, the Down East Broadband Utility board consists of a town manager from Baileyville, the town manager from Calais, 2 representatives from both towns, and myself as the director at large. So now we're getting ready to get this project off the ground. In 2018, we sent out RFPs to find a contractor. We did find one, and construction began. Network completion took about 24 months. We're about 98% complete. We have 2 outlying areas, one in Calais and one in Baileyville, that we're very rural. We're finishing that out this summer, so we'll be at 100%. And we have also signed on an additional town, Alexander, which is the next town up. Their citizens voted to join DBU. We're beginning construction with them this summer as well. In June of 2020, we began signing up customers, and they are signing up at a rapid rate. our ISPs, in a little later, I'll explain the details of the network, but we have an open access system, so multiple ISPs can send their service there. At present, you can get a 100 by 100 meg connection on our network for $60 a month with no installation costs. So you could actually get on this network with a fiber connection, symmetrical, 100 by 100 for $60. Very affordable. What we built. This is a municipally owned dark fiber open access network. That's a mouthful, I realize, but it basically means that the towns of Calais and Baileyville have put the physical infrastructure in place. We have built the highway, and we left it up to companies to then provide the signal down that highway. We also decided to go with a single fiber connection to every subscriber. There are different ways to do network builds. Very common ones are to run fiber out to a certain distance and then split it into 32 nodes. We decided to do a dedicated fiber to every person who wanted it throughout both towns to increase the future proofness of this technology. Fiber, they have not been able to max yet. They don't even know how fast they can make it run. So we thought by having a single fiber to everyone, that would even make this even more future proof. We are open to all internet service providers. And one of the beauties of this system is this asset is owned by the citizens of Calais and Baileyville. This is a product that belongs to them. The dollars that come in to this system go back to the community. So that brings me up to the financial side. This network is basically paid for by the subscribers of the service. Now, when we went to build it, obviously they don't build these things for nothing. Once we got the cost of the build, we went to the towns and they decided that they would back the loans in the event that we failed, that if this did not take foot and we weren't able to make it work, the town said, we'll take care of it. Well, that's not the case. We're signing up. We're in a very good position right now. We estimate about a 20 years to pay back on this, what we call a 100-year investment. So in 20 years, we're going to still be viable for another 80 at least, and then some. I think fiber will be around a lot longer after that. But basically, like I said, the towns agreed to back the loans, which made, when we went to the banks, we had 4 banks that were communicating with us, trying to get the business. We selected one. It was a local bank, and we were happy to be able to do that as well. Once this network is paid for, and we're finally, all the assets have been accounted for, the revenue continues to come in. So these are revenues that will go back to the town. We always think about history repeating itself. Usually that's a negative. People think, oh, you don't want to do what you did in the past. But I go through a few bullet points here. In the 1800s, the US wisely invested in our cross-country rail system. Made sense. In the 30s, the US stepped up and did it again with the Rural Electrification Act, where they brought electricity to every corner of America. And one argument for that one particular bullet, a lot of people talk about fiber being too expensive. You can't go down this rural road because it's too long. You look at the way the Electrical Act went. They put it on every single telephone pole in this country. And they didn't come in the system and say, we're going to give 120 volts to Portland and 12 volts to Calais and Baileyville. They said everybody gets electricity. It's the same concept. In the 50s, Eisenhower invested in the interstate highway system. Now it's the 21st century, and we believe it's time to invest in high-speed, symmetrical fiber broadband internet. And we've proved that this does work. It's sustainable. We think that blazing fast broadband is not only possible, but it's here. And now we think it's time for it to be everywhere. If anyone has any questions, I can certainly elaborate on any of those bullets. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Dan. Just a quick note of order. This session is going to be extended till 10:35. I just heard from the moderator. I have a couple of questions, Dan. One is an observation. I think it's an important point that you made that these assets are extremely valuable, regardless of who owns them. And so that you easily did find lenders, competitive lenders, who wanted to get into lending for this system because those assets have value on the poles. So I thought that was very interesting. You don't just build it and then it has no value in the poles. It's anyone would like to come in and rebuy this system after you line it up. I would like to ask you the question about how you worked out the finances in rural Maine. Obviously, it's cost effective to run this fiber in the village or downtown for areas, but how did you handle the question that everyone asks when you have to go to Mrs. Murphy's farm or whatever 9 miles down a road for one internet connection? Is that subsidized by the whole system, or is there a surcharge? Or I mean, how do you handle that?
We treated Mrs. Jones down the road the same as we do Mr. Jones who lives in town. We looked at this project that the point was that, like the Electrification Act that I mentioned earlier, was that everyone was to get the ability to subscribe to this service if they wanted it. So, and we can give you, these numbers are public. I can tell you for the entire project, it was $3.1 million, which is not a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money, but people have a misconception that fiber is, so outrageously expensive that you can't do it. You shouldn't do it. The incumbents have been telling us this for years. That's why they haven't been building it out. I mean, this problem could have been solved 40 years ago, but they decided not to because it wasn't economically viable, feasible for these big companies with shareholders. We understand that. That's why we decided to do it ourselves, and the investment was made by these towns.
Great, thank you. Another quick question before I jump to Adam Lockman's question about your broadband. Could you talk about, for a minute, subscribers? So you run fiber down my street, and I decide I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't want to pay for it. What have you? How does that impact me as a resident? Am I forced to buy this? Or can I bypass it? Or what's the financial impact on me as a taxpayer of Baileyville? This project.
That was the beauty of the system. It would have no impact on you. The idea was that we knew by doing the surveys we did. I mean, the question I ask a lot of people, does anybody think the internet's going away? It's not going away. It's a service that's getting more and more ubiquitous, as it should be. So, but you as a citizen, if you choose not to do it, if you want to be off the grid or whatever, it just goes right by your house and it doesn't happen there. If you sell your home, you can tell the person who's buying it that guess what's right outside your door. So the value of your home has now gone up. So no, there's no impact on you. It's a great impact on you if you do take the service.
Great, thank you. Adam Lockman asked, could you talk about the connection of fiber broadband to the mill and its ability to recruit talent? And how do you see new federal funds coming to Maine from the American Rescue Plan, upwards of 120 million? How will that impact your ability to expand the network to more towns in Washington County?
Hi, Adam. Great question, Adam. I'm glad you're on the board. Yes, one of the driving forces of this when I was the IT manager at the mill was the mill is a 24/7 operation, as you people all know. These companies don't stop, but it's highly computerized now, and it needs to be maintained remotely from anywhere on the planet. We need to outside help or the engineers who actually work in the mills themselves. We didn't have the ability, it was there, but it was sluggish. It would, queue up, it would lock up. They couldn't connect. But now with this robust fiber system, it is blazingly fast and we're able to support the mills. So it is very important to the mills. As far as the stimulus dollars, as Adam's boss, Angus, knows, I've been at this for a very long time promoting fiber and only fiber. And I'm excited to see that the direction we're going in that direction. The 120 plus million that Adam mentioned is going to be coming. There's going to be public dollars coming into the state of Maine to improve broadband. It is our opinion that public dollars ought to be spent to help the public. We're certainly willing to work with private companies. We think that's great. But if an investment's going to come out of the private citizens of this country, we believe the investment should benefit those customers first. So we're very excited about what's happening in Maine, and we're really excited that it's going to come in the form of block grants that the state will get to decide, how this money gets distributed. We're going to be out there looking. And to his last question, yes, I have been approached by at least 40 communities across the state of Maine and as far away as Texas that want to know how we did this. And as locally here, we're looking at other towns that are close by us of joining DBU as well. I think this is going to mushroom once they realize the economies of it and how really sustainable this system is. This isn't something you're going to build. The past, our telecom industry has built technologies that lasted just so long, and then it had to be replaced. This is something that doesn't have to be replaced. If you take the analogy of, satellite internet, if you got satellites up there and the technology changes, you've got to get that satellite. You've got to put another one up or get up there and grab that one. In our case, when the technology changes, we have 3 cabinets and they're on the ground. You can drive to them. You swap out the equipment inside that cabinet, and now you're up and running with the fastest, greatest technology out there. The fiber on the pole doesn't have to be replaced. It'll be there for 100+ years.
That is that is so exciting, Dan. It's such a great story. We have about 5 minutes left. I'd like to jump back to some questions folks had for George O'Keefe, specifically in Rumford. Dan, if you could take down your presentation, it'll allow us to bump around to different folks. George, as you saw, and you started to answer in some of the chat. So Dan, if you'll stop sharing your screen, I think that will.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that spot.
Okay, great. George, if you could just jump in and talk about how forest products are going to intersect with Rumford's economy moving forward. You've talked about all the other initiatives that the quote unquote mill town of Rumford is taking on to diversify your economy, but could you speak specifically, I know you can't divulge, but specifically around forest products?
Do this.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
sure. Happy to, Rob. So, as our selectman Peter Chase likes to say, Rumford was, seen as a mill town, and now we're a town with a mill. On the forest products side, I think that there, as we've seen in some of the other presentations, there are clearly some opportunities around energy related to wood. I don't want to go much further than that because I think it'll be pretty obvious if I do what we're talking about. But opportunities that relate with energy and wood are clearly where we can help maximize development opportunities in forest products. And part of the reason for that is because our energy infrastructure here, is not as congested as some of the other communities in Maine. So we have some really pretty good takeaway capacity. And, the other strategic benefit we have is we have a consumer, we have an energy consumer here that, uses a lot of what we're producing locally. So our transmission pattern, we're not in a situation where we're sending every last megawatt that we're making here in terms of energy out on the wires and consuming that capacity. Quite a bit of it is, I would imagine, being used here. So that's my best attempt at answering that.
Great, thanks, George. We're going to pivot real quickly to Paul in the last 2 minutes we have. Paul, Adam Lockman asks, can you discuss how efforts in Ashland are helping support greater economic diversification and resiliency? What is the one most important thing that is critical to the success of redevelopment? What does Ashland look like in 25 to 30 years because of the efforts by Don Tardy and others in town?
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot in 60 seconds.
Certainly Ashland, like George says, it was referred to as a mill town. People saw it as a legacy forest products town for many years. I think with some of the exciting evolution of what's going to happen in forest products, we're going to see opportunities not just to continue with those legacy products, but we're going to also have stuff like biofuels. We're going to have different types of things like is going on with Go Labs. There are all types of different technologies that bring in that younger workforce. I think, as they're all aging out, we're finding new ways to bring the younger generation in through some of these exciting technologies, things that are going to, hopefully replace traditional fossil fuel based plastic bottles, things like that. That's stuff that our younger generations can get their arms around. They don't think it's just chainsaws, PVs, and skidders out in the woods. It's really high tech, neat stuff that we're doing with the forest products. So I think that's what Ashland and that whole greater area is leaning into.